Mark, thanks very much for joining us on Architect Tomorrow.
Hello.
As you can see, we're a bit Heath Robertson here because we're kind of squatting in part of Tech Show London trying to record a conversation here. So hopefully this comes out all right. But I couldn't miss up the opportunity to talk to Mark because Mark's doing some really interesting things in regenerative data centers. And so, Mark, for those of you who haven't heard of yourself or Deep Green, can you give a bit of an elevator pitch?
I'll be as brief as I possibly can be. So we are just a normal data center operator, but with a very important difference that we are recapturing all the heat that is given off from the computers, and we are giving it away to industry and other heat, people who need the heat, for free. That is 10 years ago and before, that wasn't a very clever thing to do, but in a world where AI and the robots are taking over and where densities in data centers are growing exponentially, the amount of heat that a data center produces is extraordinary. And it's not just that it produces a lot. 97% of the electrons that go into a computer come out as heat. So you can see data centers as just the vehicle through which electrons first pass before you then get to use the energy twice. And in a climate emergency, that turns out to be quite a clever thing to do.
Yeah, I mean that stat, 97%. That's staggering. And I guess this is sort of the current hype wave we're living through at the moment with AI, with GPUs. The power densities per rack is going up. The kind of heat that's being generated by these things is enormous. So, do you think this is, pardon the pun, but sort of a sustainable thing? Because surely efficiency is going to have to kick in. We're going to have to make AI more efficient. So, is this a sustainable thing? You think we'll be able to recover heat from AI for the long term?
I think we are reticent about being the people. We have large egos, but we certainly can't stop the world growing and doing what it's doing. So our view is that if it's going to happen, however inefficiently or efficiently, you may as well capture the heat. And if you get to the point where you're capturing 97% of the energy, which we are, then you start to actually see the problem through the other lens of a telescope, which is actually you're just kind of politicizing an electric heater. If all we perceive and conceive the computers as are electric heaters, then we actually don't really care. As long as they're doing something useful, we need that heat anyway. So all of our home heating needs to be decarbonized. All of our industrial heating and industrial processes need to be decarbonised. The government in the UK has got a target of 20% of home heating to come from district heating systems, so these large energy campuses. And we're building our data centres in these large district heating systems where they need to decarbonise anyway. If there's one there anyway, it's got a gas-fired boiler, and if there isn't, then you want to slave a data center to the heat pump.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting, and I think it's made me start to shift my thinking, because if you start to think about technology obsolescence, and actually, sometimes we replace machines because we think they're not efficient enough. Well, actually, if we're using the waste heat anyway. But I guess my next question for you is going to be, how are you finding this with the market? Are people buying this because they see the secondary benefit? I guess I'm also seeing reports that it's really hard to get grid connections for data centers. So is this just something that's sort of unlocking in people's minds, or is it still quite novel and quite challenging to get this adopted?
There's probably a couple of answers to the question. There's important meta changes in different types of the market which are impacting us. So, for example, district heating systems where you recapture the heat. The 5th generation of district heating systems can use very, very low-grade heat. So the number of people that we can provide a data center to is increasing. It's not just AI workloads. Okay. So that's important. That's a really important kind of background tailwind that's coming. So, and we've actually probably done ourselves a disservice for the last year by saying we're only HPC and AI. Actually, any server, any racks that are above 20 kilowatts a rack, we're good for. The economics start to stack up. Are people buying only on ESG credentials? Well, 10 years ago, we were at the kind of the first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they hate you, and then you win. We were definitely in the laughing phase. Right. Is is it changing people's buying behaviour? Definitely. Every brief we're seeing because we're unfathomably cheap. If you do this, you just make yourself richer. By the way, there's a we've framed it as we're these magnanimous people giving away free heat. Actually, we're getting free rent, and actually our cooling costs are 20% less than every other data centre, and we are passing those economics on to customers. So we're actually, no one can compete with us on price. So, but the truth is, in a world that we have and we're faced with at the moment, most people are very price sensitive. So they're not going to pay over. But like most green technologies, that's a good. It's actually just cheaper and better because you're being more efficient. The sustainability bit gets us visible and gets us known, and I think then the price kicks in and seals the deal.
That's really, really interesting, and it marries with what I say to people, which is, if you're doing sustainability right, it costs you less money. It's just sensible business to do that, right? I guess where I was going to go next is, do you see eventually the rest of the market catching on to this, particularly in a world where I think it's easier perhaps to shift compute than it is to shift energy? Grid connections are obviously a challenge. Grid distribution network infrastructure is a challenge to put in place. So do you see sort of edge and kind of cloud becoming more distributed as a trend in the near future, or what's your take on that?
We definitely need to dispel some myths. There is plenty of power in the world. There's plenty of power in the UK. We're not searching for sites. In the US, there are 9 gigawatts of district heating systems alone, which all need to be electrified. So there's a bit of a misconception, and there's a lot of hype and bullshit. So we have to sort of frame where enterprise AI is. It's very early doors, but it's coming thick and fast. And I think that's the kind of the trajectory of travel. What was the question again? Sorry. Forgot. My middle-aged brain is...
Sorry, it was a loaded multi-part question. It was, I guess, how long do you see yourselves being quite distinct and different? And do you see the kind of hyperscalers catching on?
Eventually, we see a point in the future where climate crisis meets this world, and where governments get very energized about people wasting electrons. The truth is, in this transition, we have only electrified the growth of our economies. We've still got all of what was fossil fuels to electrify, and the climate emergency is coming at us thick and fast. So we see a world where this becomes a very, very important thing to do quite soon. When that future is, who knows? Honestly, it's such a huge lift. 30% of all of the economy can use data center heat in industry, and the government reckon that while their target for district heating systems to these large energy campuses to heat our homes through super insulated pipes, their target is 20%. We now think the 80% of the country can be heated by district heating systems. Again, we've got big egos and big ambitions. We as Deep Green and Octopus, despite our 12.5 billion, you're not even scratching the surface. It's a 3.5 trillion retrofit issue, challenge, opportunity across Europe alone. So this is a world that's coming at us, but it's not going to be a winner takes all market.
So plenty of space for everyone, essentially. And I guess, look, thanks, Mark. It's been great to catch you here, because you've been on my list of people to speak to for quite a while, so thank you. I guess if people want to learn more, I know you've done some great talks. I know that was it the robots. There was a kind of a robot thing. Maybe
how the robots going to take over the world.
Yeah, so maybe you can signpost people, so if people want to learn more.
Just our website, so deepgreen.energy. Come and visit us. We love to talk to people. Our route to market, how we sell our data center capacity, is through partners. So we're partnered with all the major OEMs and major MSPs. We'd love to talk to smaller MSPs, particularly where we're landing our first UK sites, so Manchester, York, London. So yeah, come and talk to us. Drop us an email, find us on LinkedIn.
Awesome, thanks very much, Mark.